Are we ready? Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful and very short, very fast fleeting half an hour. Can we request our next set of speakers to come onto the stage? We have Mr. Krishna Iyer. May I have Mr. Krishna Iyer on the stage? Mr. Raj Sisodia and Mr. Sunil Savara. Mr. Krishna Iyer is going to be in conversation with Raj and with Sunil, and the focus is going to be on being a conscious leader. Krishna does all sorts of interesting things, including being co-founder of Go Live Faster, TiE Gyan Foundation, and interestingly, a trust that spreads happy thoughts. Raj Sisodia is the Chairman Emeritus of Conscious Capitalism, Inc., and a very, very focused stakeholder in the idea of conscious enterprise. Sunil Savara is with Impossible Transformations LLP and will be, I'm sure, holding the conversation. So, Krishna, over to you. I'm going to be the tough one with the time up in 25 minutes, but looking forward to a fantastic session. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. This still says time up. We want, based on something Raj, Sunil did backstage, I'm going to request all of you to join me in intention. Because this is a session on conscious leadership, can I request all of us to become conscious by closing our eyes for a moment, and can we truly intend for anything you want to make happen in the world? Go on. Can we have pin drop silence here so that it doesn't come in the way of somebody else's intention? And just intend for something you want to make happen in the world. Thank you. Welcome to this session on conscious leadership. Raj, who is the founder of Conscious Capitalism and really set the ball rolling for many of us here. Sunil at Impossible Transformations and Headed High has impacted millions of youth and leaders. And so I would want to start with a question for you, Raj, which starts with this whole idea of money, results, and consciousness. In your work in both Firms of Endearment and Conscious Capitalism, you have shown in that book and your website that companies that are conscious have been able to outperform the S&P index significantly. They've been able to even beat the good to great companies significantly, and not just international, but even Indian companies. So given that, what we would like to know is, can you help us that how can all of us here get the same results that those companies got, those conscious companies got?
Sure. Well, thank you, Krishna, and great to be with all of you. I'm going to start actually by questioning a little bit of the premise here. I think if you're attached to a cherished outcome, I have to outperform the market by X or whatever it is, then you're starting out by making a great mistake, because the emphasis is not on the outcome, the emphasis is on the right actions, as Prasad would say as well, that comes from our wisdom, right? If you get attached to a cherished outcome, you will engage in wrong actions. So I want to talk about what are the right actions from a consciousness perspective, and then the right results will follow. And so the pillars of conscious capitalism are 4. So higher purpose, which you've just heard a wonderful panel about, and the alignment between the leaders of the individuals, the leaders, the purpose of the individual leaders as well as the organization. And it has to be something that is aligned with what the world needs. It has to be aligned with reducing suffering in the world and bringing more joy into the world. It has to be separate from profit. Businesses need to be profitable in order to survive, but that is not the purpose. Right? The purpose is to do something meaningful. The second is a stakeholder mindset. So you're creating value consciously for all stakeholders. You're not just using them to make money, but you're creating value and uplifting the lives of your employees, of their children, of your customers, their physical, mental, emotional well-being, suppliers, communities, the environment, the future. The third is conscious leadership, which we will focus on here. And the fourth is a conscious and caring culture. Most cultures are very toxic. People have, today is Monday. By the way, heart attacks are 20% higher on Mondays. Okay? in the US and in the UK, 33% in Sweden. Our work is literally killing us. But in conscious companies, people love what they do and they're excited about going to work. So those are the pillars, and I often say when CEOs look at our books and say, oh wow, you outperformed by 9-1 over S&P, let's do it. I say, well, in that case, if that's your only reason for doing this, it's probably not going to work. Because you have to do the right things for the right reasons. And these pillars, they are not tactics, they are tenets. A tenet is a pillar of fundamental belief. You have to do it because you believe that purpose is important, that taking care of the well-being of everybody is important, right? You don't use them as a way to make more money because that means you're still trapped in the mindset of profit maximization. And we're trying to get away from that mindset. It's really about achieving a purpose and making a difference in the world. And as I said, increasing joy and reducing suffering in the world. So if you practice these tenets, even individually, if you only practice purpose and don't do the others, there will be an increase in employee engagement, in customer loyalty, in innovation. If you only adopt the stakeholder mindset, that will increase performance. If you only change your approach to leadership, that will increase and they change the culture. But when you do them all together, it's like a multiplier effect because they are synergistic with each other and they build upon each other. And that's when you get the dramatic outperformance. And having said that, just one caution that a conscious business is still a business. So this is not a magic pill that if you only do these things that you will outperform, that you have to also be a viable business, have a good business model, efficient processes, you have to have accountability, all of those things, and then you add on these elements of consciousness that takes it to another level.
Brilliant, thank you. That it is a tenet and not a tactic. Thank you so much. And if we look at conscious leaders, out of your 4 things that you said, who go on to then create conscious culture, conscious purpose, multi-stakeholder orientation. If at the center is conscious leaders, I would love to ask both of you, what is conscious leadership according to you?
Well, for me, there are 2 words in conscious leaders. One is leaders, which is different from managers, and the other is conscious. So, I see lots of men in this room. Now, how many of you have played cricket in your, in your basti, in your gully cricket? Yeah, all that sort of thing. I used to play it in a very small place, this much. Now, when you were playing that cricket, were you unconscious or conscious? Weren't you conscious of all the glass that might break? Mummy will come and catch you and tell you, chalo, padhai karo. Right? Every time you are constantly aware of everything that is happening, the environment, your buddies, yourself. That's being conscious. When we drive a car from here, we are going to go back to being unconscious. But conscious also is the absence, the relative absence of the ego, which our friends talked about just before us. The ego is that part of you and I which says, I am important. I am the focus, I am the center of the world. Not egocentric, which means nothing else exists except me, but ego-driven, which is natural for most of us. But when that ego drops, there is room for you to have the true self inside of you, the true you, rise up and be conscious. And that part, that has all the secrets of all the great leaders in the world. The reason that these people became great is because they knew this secret. The secret of these leaders was that, like Gandhi, like Nelson Mandela, like so many others, they realized that the secret is not in having a great persona, not in having a great ego and pushing you away, but in using that part of your true self, which is already within us, and which is providing you the ideation, it provides us the connectedness to each another, and a host of other things, including awareness. I'll stop here.
Thank you.
Sure. So, leadership is vital, right? I'll quote Peter Drucker. He said there are only 3 things that happen naturally in organizations. There's friction, there's confusion, and there's underperformance. Everything else takes leadership. Right? So you could take the most thoughtful, conscious, caring, intelligent people and put them in a room. You come back an hour later, what will you find? Friction, confusion, underperformance, until somebody steps into the role of leader. Somebody takes on the awesome responsibility of leadership, which is to create a vision for what is possible, where can we go, and then how do we get there, what is our strategy, right? So even in a world where we are more educated, more informed, etc., leadership is vital, and it's very simple. Better leaders make for a better world. Bad leaders can destroy our world, right? So leadership matters a great deal. And so when we think about what is conscious leadership, the word that we use is selfless, which is kind of getting to the ego issue, right? You have to transcend the idea of selfishness, because the opposite of selfless is selfish. And if you are fundamentally a selfish human being, and God forbid you enter a position of leadership, then you're going to look at all the people you lead and say, wow, I can use all these people to achieve my goals. For a selfish person, those are rooted in their ego and power, and about power and money. That's not a leader, that's a tyrant. That's a definition of a tyrant that uses other people to fill their own ego-based needs. A true leader is there to serve the people, is there to transcend, to go beyond what Viktor Frankl talked about, self-transcendence. Right? Maslow said self-actualization is the peak, but actually there's a level beyond self-actualization, which is self-transcendence. And then selfless stands for the qualities that you need in conscious leaders. First is strength. You have to be a very strong human being to be a leader. But the kind of strength I'm talking about is moral courage, the courage to do the right thing when it's hard, and it always is. And we're at a time in the world today when moral courage is in severe deficit. We're not seeing moral courage, certainly in the United States where I live, there's very little moral courage being shown in leaders right now. And personal power. We have a lot of leaders who are all about positional power, right? All their power comes from that seat, that title that they have. And you take away that title and there's nobody there. It's like a balloon, you take out the air, it's all gone. Personal power is something nobody can take away from you. You cultivate that from within, from a sense of purpose, from knowing what your values are, from unshakable integrity, right? From developing yourself with all of those values, right? So that's strength. And then the E is for energy and enthusiasm, because it's not an easy job. You have to constantly sustain the gap between what is and what could be, where we are and where we're trying to get to. And then the L is for love. Strength and love must go together. Strength without love is tyranny. We've had many strong leaders in the last century. Hitler and Stalin and Mao and Mussolini almost destroyed human civilization. Strength without love is tyranny, but love without strength is ineffective. And we need the combination of both. The leaders who have changed the world for the better, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Abraham, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, many others that we can name, they combine great strength with great love. And that is what we have to cultivate. And that's where actually the masculine feminine comes in. We have lived in a world which has been entirely dominated by men and entirely focused on masculine energy. Even the women who come into the world of leadership were expected to embody masculine qualities and leave aside the feminine energy. The world is being destroyed by an excess of masculine energy. We need to bring that mother energy, the feminine energy, and that's where strength and love coming together, as Martin Luther King said. We must be tough-minded and tender-hearted at the same time. And then the others are flexibility, a long-term orientation, emotional intelligence, which was talked about, spiritual intelligence, understanding the role of meaning and purpose in your life and the life of the people you lead, and systems intelligence. So ultimately, that's really how we summarize what a conscious leader is. They are truly selfless, and they have worked on themselves. You're not born with all of these things. You know, Gandhi as a young person was a scared and fragile person, and then he built himself into this giant human being, right? So all of this can be cultivated.
So perhaps then a follow-up question is, how do I know whether I am conscious or not as a leader? How can I know? Yeah, how can I know? How can I bring it forth? How can I access?
So, is it all right if we do a little exercise, everyone? Yeah, you don't mind? So I want you to close your eyes. All of you, just close your eyes, don't worry. Trust me, nothing will happen. All right, just close your eyes. And I want you to think of a time in your life where you had extraordinary joy. Perhaps you were with your newborn child and holding him or her for the first time. Perhaps you were on the beach watching a sunset. Maybe the first time that you met the person you wanted to live with all your life. Perhaps you met your old friend after many years and you gave him or her a hug. So can you please go back into that moment, and I want you to be there. If you're in that place, can you just put your hand up? Keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed and put your hand up. Beautiful, thank you. Stay there for 30 seconds. Enjoy this wondrous, beautiful space. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Please open your eyes. Now, I'm going to ask some questions. You can just shout them out. When you were in that space where you experienced true joy, was any of your qualities which you associate with your personality present? Were you being determined? Were you being ambitious? Were you being courageous? Were you being smart? Any of these present? Anybody? Beautiful. Was your ego present? Was your I present? Were you saying, I've got to be getting this properly? Were you like that? Can I get a loud no? No. So then, which part of you was present? That is the true you. Now, this is not just a nice magic trick. This true you, unfortunately, for much of our lives, we have not known about. I didn't get to know that it existed until I was 38 years old. I didn't know that I was anything but my ego and my persona. I was running a company. I started my company at that time and I was doing it the normal way. Until I discovered that the power that is inside this, the capability of being able to ideate creatively, to be able to be of integrity, a person of integrity, to have my purpose clear, completely crystal clear with me. It did not come from my mind, it came from here. Yeah?
And what do you call that here?
This is what we call being. This is being centered or conscious leader, or conscious person. And when you add the leadership element, you bring both together, you have a being centered leader or a conscious leader. And that's really, the word being came from the word human being. The human being word came from that, so did well-being. How are you feeling right now, all of us? Are you in a state of well-being? Can you say yes? Yes? Beautiful. So you can be, it's so easy to be there. I'm not saying you close your eyes, but if you move from that state, the automatic state of our ego and persona, into a conscious state of this being, you are suddenly in a magical place from which the outcomes are incredible. All that Raj has written about.
Brilliant. Thank you. So Raj, you talked about selfless. Sunil, you talked about accessing our being. For us mere mortals, coming back to what the audience, or at least I struggle with this a lot, we have an audience poll. And this talks about some of the things that you have said conscious leaders do. We're going to put it up on an audience poll. Can you please put it up, sir? And then if you can go to menti.com on your website, on your phones, menti.com. And on the top, you can see the code. So go join on menti.com and put the code that you see on the top of the screen, 79395097. And can you please quickly, from these 8 things that conscious leaders do, can you select 2 that you most struggle with? And then we'll request Raj and Sunil to comment on it. 2 things that you struggle with the most.
Just want you to know that the mere mortals are there and here as well.
Sure. Okay, so we are getting some... it's interesting to see how it's moving. So dropping the ego, somewhere there, right? So most people don't have so much of an issue on being ethical. That's good to know. Similarly, harnessing creativity is not a big challenge. So if I can, the first two seem to be the big one. Yeah, so maybe it's the same thing you got us to do, Sunil and Raj. You talked about selfless as well. So it's interesting though, they are fighting with each other, the 36 and the 38. But I want to just then ask you that as a leader, if I look at the 38%, right now as we move now to 39, as a leader, how do I truly stay deeply connected with each other in my company, with that jerk with whom I'm dealing, with that guy whom I have to fire, in those moments where I have to take ethical, decisions where I'm not sure, how can I stay truly connected to them and to myself? Love for both of you to comment.
Yes, so I think it goes back to that word love. Every single thing we do in life should come from love. Every action, every word should be rooted in love. And I find in business, many decisions are rooted in fear and greed. Can we make the same decision from a place of love? Not anger, not jealousy, not fear, not any of the other ones. Next time you're making a decision or having a thought, just say, am I coming from love right now?
Am I coming from love?
Yeah, and I want to quote a senator, Raphael Warnock, who is also the pastor at the church in Atlanta where Martin Luther King was the pastor. And he said, you cannot lead the people unless you love the people. And you cannot love the people unless you know the people. And you cannot know the people unless you walk among the people. How many leaders actually care about the person in front of them? They see them as an object, as a function, the job that they do, the human being, worthy of love and dignity and respect. How many people actually have any idea what life is like at the front lines of their own organization? How many people know how much suffering exists inside their own organization? Very few. They're up in their penthouse and they never see the ground reality. And to truly be a leader, you actually have to care about the people that you lead. You can be a boss. And by the way, I would wish that all of us would eradicate the word boss from our language. The word boss comes from the Dutch word baas, which comes from slavery, and it means master. And we have borrowed the language of slavery and warfare into the world of business. We've made business like a kind of war. Strategy and tactics and capturing this and targeting that. And this is all militaristic language. Business is not war. Business is us taking care of each other. And a company is a way we do that at scale. And it has to be a manifestation, as Khalil Gibran said, our work is our love made visible. And if we come from that place, then I think we will naturally connect with and elevate everybody that we meet.
Brilliant. Thank you. That was very powerful. Thank you. And Sunil, you already took us through an experience of that, of how we can do that.
I just wanted to say a little bit. Can I?
Yeah.
So, many of us here are entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs. And we run programs on conscious leadership, on Gandhian leadership. And a lot of the people we get are people in their 40s and 50s, now more so younger and younger, who say, what should I do with my life? I've already made the money, I've got tons of money, I'm famous, I've got all of it, I've run 2 companies, I'm done with that shit. So there seems to be in our mind a belief that, hey, ye sab baad mein dekha jayega, we'll see about all these are all nice things to have. We'll do that later, let's make the money first, boss. Right? Let's be opportunistic. The fact is, 20 years of your life are going to go away. Those 20 years of your life you will have spent doing the stuff which the next 20 years of your life you wish you hadn't done. And nearly every single participant says, why the hell didn't I learn about this when I was in school or college? So you have the opportunity, as Raj has shared in his wisdom, about the ability that we each have, and it's not a very complicated word. We all love our children, we all love our family, but we think business is not love. Oh, business I have to negotiate. The truth, not really. And try it out. You'll be fascinated by the outcomes that you get. If we had more time, we would do an exercise with you right here and now and show how easily you can connect with any person in this room in just 2 minutes. You'll be shocked. Each of us are dying to connect with the other person. Aren't you dying to love? How many of you want to love? How many of you want to be loved? Right? So there's a lovely saying, two sayings I'm going to give you with. One is, you don't need to go around looking for love if love is the place you come from. Statement one. Statement two is, who I am being gives rise to how I am doing what I am doing. What I am doing is your purpose. But who I am being will give rise. If you are being loved, guess what you're going to generate in the world? So I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
So, I know that both of you are writing a book on Gandhi together, Gandhi and conscious leadership. So perhaps in the last 30 seconds, Raj, if you can just tell us, why have you chosen to do this?
Well, I was invited by Sunil last year to an 8-day program that they've been running at the Gandhi Ashram in Ahmedabad. And like all of us, I knew a little bit about Gandhi, but not a lot. And those 8 days were truly transformative. It's based on work that they've been doing for 20 years in being-centered leadership, and then using Gandhi as an exemplar of that, and really going deep. And now I've spent the last year reading many books by Gandhi and about Gandhi to really understand, get a full measure of the man. And initially I said, I don't feel like, first of all, does the world need this book? And secondly, am I the right person to help you do this? I don't know enough about this, and am I embodying some of Gandhi's qualities? And so what I've done is really try to now, learn from that and actually change my life. I've stopped eating meat, I've stopped drinking alcohol, and I'm trying to live in a completely non-violent way so that I do not cause any unnecessary suffering in the world, to the extent that I can, right? And we can all try to emulate. We cannot go all the way. And I do believe that those things are needed in this world more than ever, that those messages have been lost. We're entering a world of tremendous division, tremendous aggression, tremendous leaders who are the opposite of all of these things that we talk about with Gandhi, right? So the commitment to the truth has disappeared from our world in many ways. The commitment to love and non-violence, we need that now more than ever. And the primacy of the means over the ends. It matters how we do things. Okay, you could achieve the same objective through a war, or you'd achieve it the way that he talked about. It makes a tremendous difference. So I think this book is needed, and I'm trying to do my humble best to see how we can bring that forward into the world.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, that was a wonderful session. I'm going to request Suri, our TiE board member, to please come up and give the mementos to our panelists. I want to say thank you particularly to some wonderful insights coming from a place of love, leaving the place a better place, leaving the world a better place. So many wonderful insights, and that screen, I'm sure, was something that all of us will take home with us in terms of the kind of impact we can make when we're being conscious leaders. And there is a lot I'm sure we can go away with. Thank you, Suri, for Krishna, that was a great moderation. Thank you. And keeping it within that short period of time with so many thoughts is always a challenge. So well done. Sunil, loved the thoughts about coming from a place of love and not looking for love. A very, very nice perspective. Thank you for that. Let's have a big final round of applause because we need a couple of pictures. We all want to be conscious leaders, so come on, give it to them. While we are getting this in order, we are going to get our next set of speakers. Next set of speakers are going to be talking about a subject that is very interesting and very different, which is music and mindfulness. Both of them are some things that we're very interested in, are a lovely little jugalbandi that we will see. And jugalbandi is an interesting word because we have some wonderful musicians who are great entrepreneurs as well. We have coming up in a little bit, and I know that, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Well done. Well done. Thank you. Well, so we're going to call upon Kumaresh Rajgopalan and also Jayanti Kumaresh. The moderator will be Balu Masti, who will join us on stage. And while they're coming on, we're going to have a short little musical interlude that you should listen to. It's just 60 seconds. And while it starts, let me quickly introduce both Kumaresh Rajgopalan and Jayanti Kumaresh.